when you're an entrepreneur, every day is a Friday and every day is a work day at the same time, right? So,
Power to Live More with Joe Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello, my name is Ellie Dodds and I'm co-presenter, and today Joe is interviewing Louie Vella. Joe and Louie connected because of the podcast. Joe loves being introduced to guests from other countries. Louie Vella's clients are entertainment personalities, musicians, concerts and festivals, and he creates strategies to make them a lot of money. Working within the shark-infested waters of the nightlife and music industry as a marketing and branding consultant, Vella has been delivering high-profit solutions to both live entertainment events and musicians for years. With over 20 years' experience in the nightlife and music marketing industry, author, speaker, event producer and marketing strategist, Vella has produced and marketed over 30 live music concerts, as well as worked advanced strategies on record labels / artist releases. Winner of the Niagara Music Awards Promoter of the Year 2012, see www.louislavella.com, for great stories and marketing strategies. As a TV host, he's interviewed over 50 A-list celebrities such as Richard Branson, Moby, the Backstreet Boys, Tommy Lee, Pussycat Dolls, Lady Gaga, Nick Carter, Vern Troyer, Casey Reinhardt, Armin van Buuren and more. Back to the studio.
Today I'm interviewing Louie Vella of Vella Nightlife and Music Marketing. So welcome, Louie. Great to have you with me.
thank you so much for having me on the show, and thanks to everybody out there taking the time to listen. This is fantastic.
Lovely. So tell me a bit about you, what you do and where you do it, and I don't just mean in which country.
Yes, where do I do it? Well, I'm doing this right now from the comfort of my home, which is where most of my work happens. So that's a good start. Yeah. It's great to have a business where you can work from home most of the time. So that's lovely. But what I do, I work in music and nightlife marketing, which means I consult quite a few festivals and nightclub venues, live event venues, and record labels and musicians on their marketing and brand strategies. So it's a pretty fascinating job. I get them on as clients and get to work with their team and direct their marketing, build strategies, a lot of social media, obviously being in the music industry. Most of the customers are all very young, but not all of them, but very much social media driven, which is fantastic and pretty exciting to be in. And that's pretty much the quick elevator speech of what I do. It's a pretty fascinating job.
Sounds very exciting. So
it is, and I am just outside of Toronto, Canada. So the actual country I'm in is in Canada right now. But the cool thing is being able to do this from home and using the power of the internet, which we all love. I have clients from around the world, UK, United States, Canada, Australia, all over the place. So it's pretty fascinating.
So tell us a bit more about the where you do it. So you work from home and obviously enjoy it, as do I. I like the idea of not leaving my front door if I can help it.
Absolutely.
So what's the environment? Do you have an office or do you work in a certain part of the house, or how does that work?
I do. I have one of our bedrooms that's not used at all is the home office, so it's nicely outfitted with cool stuff on the wall. And when I do some videos, it has my logo in the background, and I'm outfitting it with some more posters of festivals, so it looks very nice. But I do have we have our own office here in the home, and it makes it very lovely to work here and get up and start work in your pajamas if you want to. But of course, a lot of the local clients, there's some local record labels and local festivals, we do have on-site meetings, of course, and when I do attend the festivals themselves, pajamas are off, regular clothes are on, and I'm absolutely on-site, which is a lot of fun. But it's great for the most part to be able to do a lot of the work and consulting, via Skype or the GoToMeetings or the Zoom conferences, using those type of tools to be able to talk directly with whoever it is, a musician or an owner of a festival, screen share if I need to, and it's all done from the comfort of my house, which is great.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about that then. Do you have a particular routine for the day? How does it look?
Yeah, I think every day is sort of similar, but can differ, greatly depending on what's on the schedule. And I think that's pretty much with everybody in the entrepreneurscape. Typically I'll be up very late. I'm a night hawk, and that means I'm up till about 3 a.m. I think it's just because the nightlife is still in my blood, not because I'm actually at the club, but just because I'm used to it. And I find I get a lot of creativity over the nighttime. Everybody else is sleeping in the house, and I get a lot of the creative juices flowing at the very late hours. So I'm up very late. With that said, it causes me to wake up later. Not super late, but the 8:30 in the mornings, the 9 o'clock in the mornings, giving me still 6 hours sleep idea, so it's not like I'm sleeping in technically sleep-wise, but most of the world usually gets up quite early. I stay up late and get up a little bit later, and so my morning routine is pretty much say hi to the family, have breakfast, and get onto my phone eventually when I start to work, and take a look at the emails that may have come in overnight, take a quick look at social media. And then it's all up to what the schedule has. Like today, obviously, recording the podcast at the 10 a.m. zone for myself. So that's what I'm up to today. And then after that, it's starting to do some consulting calls with musicians. And then it could change daily, absolutely. But that's usually the morning start is the get up, say hi to the wife and kids, maybe watch a cartoon with them, and then get right into business.
It's interesting talking about being I can't remember how you described it, a night owl, I would have said before, but I've just been reading, I haven't quite finished yet, the new book, The Power of When, and I can't remember the name of the author, and he talks about 4 different types of people and names them after mammals, because he said that owls aren't very linked to humans, so we should use other definitions. So I am also a later person, as is my daughter Ellie, who does the intro on the podcast, and we're known as wolves. I don't know if you know that, but you're actually officially a wolf.
There you go. It's nice to be part of the wolf pack.
Yeah, but it's really interesting just to see, that it's, I think it's something like 15% of the population, want to stay up later, and it's interesting when you say about getting up later, but you were sort of saying, but not too much later. And it's funny, isn't it, that some of the society a lot of society is based around getting up, fairly early. Schools, for example, we really struggle with Ellie getting to school on time because she just won't go to bed and then she can't get up. And I get up late purposely, and we've got that routine set up in the house. But it's only relatively recently that we've been able to do that. And clearly, when I was in the corporate world, that was impossible. It's interesting. I think I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who work from home, and I think in some ways our need for a different schedule is partly what's driven that change to work independently. Would you say that that's the case in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody's different. And being an entrepreneur, especially in the scenario I'm in, a scenario you're in, we can actually thrive at our best time. And I would imagine that sleeping in till 8:30 or 9 o'clock has that frown on it, only because of who knows how many years ago people needed to get up early for the farming, or like you mentioned, get up early for schooling, or get up early to get to the corporate job and all that kind of thing. And if it, when you get home at night, you may have not had work to do other than a little bit of homework, a little bit of after work, and at night you would watch TV, and there was no productivity for your job. So if you're not getting up early, you're wasting your day away. You're not hustling. But now that the entrepreneurial world is setting in much stronger than ever, we can choose our best time. So, like I joked, getting up at 8:39, but it's only 6 hours sleep. That could be less sleep than most of the people getting up going to their 6 a.m. corporate job, right? They might go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and still get a ton of sleep. But, it's not a tit for tat or who gets up early, who stays up later. I think it's a beautiful time that we can choose our best times. And for me, for you, for Ellie, my little guy Cruz, he loves staying up late too, and it's just our time, and I love the fact that we can choose that now, and I don't have to get up at 6 in the morning unless there's a meeting, of course. I'm not going to not do that, but for the most part, I can say I thrive at that midnight till 3 in the morning. Sometimes later, I could be up at my computer, and I'm sure there are people out there who have done studies on, but it's, you need sunlight more than this, but it's not like you're sleeping until 2 in the afternoon, right? No. And missing out on that. But for the most part, as entrepreneurs, it's great to be able to choose the time that you thrive. If I had to go to bed at 10 o'clock and wake up at 5 just so I, early bird gets the worm concept, and I feel like I'm hustling because I'm up before everyone else, I think that I would not have the creativity and I would not thrive as much as doing the other schedule. That's just the way I am.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me more about the evening. Do you have particular times to work, and then at the end of it, how do you switch off? Is it because you are ready to go to sleep and that's why that time is the sort of end of your day, or do you still have to have that sort of wind down time?
I don't think I do a wind down. I might be inadvertently. I think that most people say, make sure the phone's down, the TV's off, and start winding down. It's not good for you. But I seem to like having, a webinar playing on YouTube or cartoons on that completely shuts my brain off, something like that on Netflix as I'm just winding down a little bit. But again, the TV would be on a timer, but it's on. So again, I'm not sure what other people who have done studies on say. I've read articles on, make sure the phone's away, make sure the TV's off, and wind yourself down. But I seem to be doing okay with my routine. But it seems like, everybody's in bed, they're finally sleeping, way before 10 o'clock idea. My wife goes to bed probably in the 11-ish range, and then, we've been doing things together that's not business related, hanging out as a family, whatever that is, and then, everybody's asleep, and I get those juices to grab the MacBook Pro and get them out. So I'm either in the office, or sometimes I'll just sit in the bed at night, and have the TV on, and like I said, watch, have a movie on in the background, or maybe music. Music's usually great to have on the background, obviously not loud, but something just to be on, and it's not super dark. And all of a sudden I get those creative juices to create new courses or products for musicians, or study things on Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising. Yeah. Create my own ads, my own creative, do all that kind of work. It usually comes out at night, and then I just eventually get tired, It's around 2:30, 3 o'clock, I'm feeling tired now, and I don't want to keep pushing it. And it's time to put it all away and just lie down and relax, and I end up falling asleep. So it's a pretty neat routine. Yeah. It's
interesting. I thought, having finally realised my sort of body clock, that when I used to do corporate work and stay late and do quite a bit of sort of overtime, I used to think it was, being committed or workaholic or whatever else. I actually now think it was just that about 4 or 5 o'clock I was getting my sort of creative time, as you've just said, and when everyone else was going home, I was getting down to doing the actual work that I really needed to get done, and that's why I ended up working till 8 or 9 o'clock, because it just fitted, the schedule. And I guess some companies are getting to the stage of allowing those sorts of things to happen, but we're still quite a long way from that, aren't we, for those people who haven't got their own business to sort of manage their own time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the corporate world is still stuck in the factory setting, right? Which is, and even if it's not a factory, everything is a factory built from. That's just how they created it when they created factories. Even schooling is a factory, so to speak. Yeah. You sit in the desk, you do your thing, you have your breaks at certain times. It's training for this corporate world, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, now that we've noticed, and we've been, the entrepreneurs are saying, people have different times. Like the book you mentioned, there's information coming out that people may be creative at different times, or need different breaks, or need more time off, but are very results driven. Yeah. And I would imagine most companies are just stuck with, this is the routine, this is how it's done. You come here, it's 8 till 5, you have your lunch, and go home, and that yada yada yada. And it may not be as productive. And like you mentioned, when some corporations, like Sir Richard Branson, doing a lot of great testing with Virgin on unlimited vacation time and come as you please, but just get the work done. I think he's realizing, and other corporations are as well, that if you thrive in the evening, maybe that's when you want to work and you want to have time off during the day. Now, of course, with that said, maybe there's daily meetings at 10 a.m. and you're not there. But perhaps you can call in. Perhaps you can Skype in, or if it's once a week, you can be there that day. But I think there's something to be said about the the fluidness of people's creativity. I've seen several articles and studies on maybe you should get to work at 10:30 instead of 8 o'clock because you're not even awake yet by then. That 2 hours is zero creativity. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen a lot of those studies, and even with schools. I've seen articles, read articles on why starting so early. They're not even awake yet, and maybe that's not everybody. I know for myself, you can feel the creativity for me, and you probably are the same way, and there's a lot of listeners that probably feel the same way too. At night, I'm thinking, wow, I need to record this new webinar, and this is great, but I can't because everybody's sleeping, so I'll do it in the morning, and I wake up in the morning, and I'm just not as excited yet. And I have the notes, and I know what I'm doing, but I'm like, last night I was super juiced up to do this, and this is going to be a great recording and whatnot, but I held off on it just for noise purposes, let's say. And then the next morning, it takes me a while to get in that routine, so I do my other things, and then eventually I'm like, okay, I feel creative again. Let's do this. It's just the way our bodies are, and everybody's very different.
Yeah, and it's interesting that thing about get your top 3 things done first in the morning, or get your one thing that you've got to get done for the day immediately. Doesn't work if that's not how your body clock works, does it? It's the wrong time to be doing it.
It's hard to generalize those things, and that's totally true. And I even have read a ton of articles on, because I'm in marketing, the best times to post on Facebook are XYZ. These are the times because of this, and I'm thinking that is not the case for everyone.
No.
Probably for only 1/10 of the people. It is just not the case. You really can't put in an article like that anymore. When I have admin access to a lot of Facebook pages and Instagram accounts, so I look at analytics, and they're all very different. All very different. It really depends on your own audience, and so same with us. It depends on us. When is our creative time? When is our time to shine? First thing in the morning, if I had to get my most important thing done, it's probably not a good time. Right? Probably. I mean, of course, you can if you need to do it at that time. Like I said, you have a meeting or a big phone call or an interview at 7 a.m. or whatever it is. Yeah, you do it, and you hustle, and you do very well at it. But if that was my daily routine, for me, it would not work well. I think it wouldn't move me forward as fast. And so it's the same with user behaviors all over the world. Same with the times you post on Facebook. That 9 a.m. before people start their workday may not be the time. Right. If you have people who are nighthawks and that's your or wolves, and that is your audience, then 9 a.m. is not cool. It's going to be something more in the evening. But you need to know your audience, and that's a marketing thing as well. So I'm not surprised that those kind of pieces of information are out there now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do another podcast, and I had to interview somebody in Australia, so I had to get up and do it first thing in the morning. And I think we started at something like 6:30. And actually, if you listen back and compare that to all the other interviews that I've done, you can absolutely tell that it wasn't my best time because I sound like I'm half asleep. But there you go. So
it's true. Everybody has their time to shine.
Yeah. So thinking about the personalization piece, how do you get your work done? What do you use to help you to manage what you need to get done? We get different answers from everybody again because it's a personal thing. How do you manage your time?
I probably have the ADHD, so my focus is all over the map, and I bet you everybody who's an entrepreneur or a creative has got the same thing, so it's probably not official, but so to me, to keep organized, I use my iPhone quite a bit, which is putting dates in my calendar, using the Notes app a lot, so I'll have ideas just come out of nowhere. I'll be watching cartoons or a webinar, and I'm like, oh wait, this has to go into a new course, or I need to add this to a book I'm writing. This chapter is going to be great. So I'll pull up my phone and grab the notes, and every different notes file is a different thing. So my new book, or this course I'm doing, or this festival I'm working on, or that client, and I'll pull up that note and I'll make those notes in there. And that kind of keeps me organized because I used to have a notebook, which actually I still have. It's right beside me right now, actually. And, every page is cool because it's got all kinds of information, but then I forget to look back at it. So my smartphone's with me all the time, and I keep it fairly organized where it's not like a whole book full of stuff, and then it gets disorganized. Yeah. And that's kind of how I've been able to keep myself organized. And of course, like I said, the calendar app is been great, especially doing podcasts. It's great to book and then put that in the calendar. Otherwise, I'll forget what I'm doing. And so many of the times I ask Monica, my wife, what are we doing tomorrow? Because somebody wants to have a meeting. What's going on tomorrow? Because it's not business oriented, but what's going on family wise? Because I just can't. I don't know what's happening sometimes the next day. I'm just very excited with what I'm doing right now, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it, that I use my phone a lot too, and having that opportunity to actually find stuff by searching compared to those notebooks where you knew you'd written it down in a book that looked a bit like this, but you've got no idea which page it's on. It's made a big difference, technology, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I probably have $1 million ideas in the notebook that I just wrote 2 years ago. And then if I start going from page one, I'll be like, oh, man, that was a great idea. I should execute this one, because I had the idea at a time, and then it's just not organized well. And that's me. Everybody's different. Some people have a nice planner, that's paper because they love feeling it. It's in their hands. And other people love the smartphone. Other people need an assistant, and they hire somebody to tell them what to do. It's just a matter of, again, finding what works for you and using it. I guess that's the key nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about tools and technology then, what are your top 3 tools or apps that you use that you'd recommend other people have a look at?
Yeah, if it's so let me just talk directly to marketing, because that's what I do then, because I could probably come up with apps all day long that work in several different genres. But so if you're marketing your business, you're a home business, an entrepreneur or whatnot, obviously for me and for a lot of people out there, we could be one-man shows or very small teams, even the large teams, but starting with the smaller guys, you're doing a lot of work yourself. So you need to be on, for example, social media, promoting your own business, promoting yourself as a consultant or whatever business you are. Social media is going to be one of the big tools, especially depending on which platform, depending on the age demographic of your audience. You got to do your own designs. So I love using a lot of these apps, and a lot of them are free or $2 that help you design your social media posts. So something like Adobe Spark Post is a fantastic one, where you load up one of the pictures you've either taken with your phone or you have downloaded onto your phone, and you can put some great text on it. The text could be moving, beautiful designed posts for social media. Another one's called Typorama. That's another fantastic one where, again, you upload a picture from your phone that you have either downloaded off your website or emailed to yourself, and then put some fantastic text, even your logo, on that image. We want to put content out pretty much every day. So it becomes a fight on, where do we get this content? What do I say? Does it always have to be a blog or some long post? What if it's just an image? What do I put out there? I got to hire a designer now. This is crazy. Or I got to get my laptop and download, Photoshop and learn that. But we don't have to do that anymore when you have apps like this. So those two are fantastic for design apps, and I would recommend getting those if you're looking at constant social media push. And then, of course, speaking of that, you want to have all the relevant apps on your phone, which most of us do anyways. The Facebook app, of course, Twitter and Instagram. If you're doing marketing on social media, which is what I do, and I think most of us kind of do quite a bit, those are the things you need on your smartphone so that you can keep in contact constantly. That's a big piece of the pie. A lot of people just push out, and then they forget to engage. People will have comments, whether they're good or bad. They will forget that. Or you'll schedule it out, and you think, great, my day's done. Marketing's over. That's not true anymore. That's back in the day when we did that with newspaper or television or radio. You just set it and almost forget it, right? You'll answer calls that come in, perhaps, if there's a sales call. But nowadays, before the sale happens, there's a ton of engagement. So we need these apps on our phone so we can keep on top of it all the time.
Mm-hmm. So let's explore that a bit more. How do you keep on top of this stuff? How do you make sure you're not spending all day on social media when clearly you've got other stuff that you need to get done? But how do you make sure that even though you're not there all day, you are having that engagement opportunity?
I will definitely, like I mentioned, as a morning routine, when I wake up, I check emails. I will check social media that may have happened overnight. Because I have clients and fans from around the world, people in the UK, people in Austria, people in Los Angeles or New York, they're very different time zones, and they could be engaging with my posts at any time of the day. So that's something I'll do in the morning. Then I'll move on to do some other things. But I have notifications obviously set to on for my phone. Now, because I have so many pages that I work with, that can go off quite a bit, but at least it gives me a little, it's distracting, but a little kind of view of what's happening in social media. Sometimes things will start to blow up without me noticing. There'll be 5 or 6 people getting into a conversation on my post. Well, I should be in there. So if I notice my Louie Vella page all of a sudden start to blow up, right? And there's a lot of notifications coming, I'm going to go check on it. Yeah. But with that said, I will also check on it, every hour, just kind of scan through my pages, make sure there's nothing crazy going on, or any of the few, perhaps comments or messages that come in, I will respond to. It's just something that is now a part of my daily routine, hourly routine, really, because I'm just so involved in my marketing, and it's all social media, which is great. I mean, it's work, and it's a little bit of hustle, but it's also gives me a little bit of control and a little bit of finger to the pulse on what's going on, as opposed to, again, back in the day where we just kind of let it go and hope that when they're talking amongst themselves, they're talking positively and thinking about buying, right? Where nowadays I can be a part of the conversation. I don't want to miss that. So it is a little bit of work. Social media now, it's a lot less expensive, which is fantastic. It's either free if you get good organic, but I mean, I think most people know they have to advertise nowadays, which is okay. Every business needs to advertise, but it's so much more, it's very inexpensive, but it causes you to trade that off for your time. Yeah. It just has to be done. Or, again, when you get big enough, you hire an assistant and somebody else can monitor that. It's just something that somebody needs to do.
Yeah. And you talked about sharing images using those apps, which I don't think we've had recommended before, so that's great to add into the list. How else are you putting content out? How else do you make sure that you've got content to publish in least time, I guess, is probably what we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think every business is going to be different on the type of content they want to put out. But for me, myself as an example, so as a marketing consultant, I want to put out content that is obviously relevant to my audience, so we already know that, but that is going to differ slightly, and I'm going to reuse content as well. So as an example, if I record my own podcast, so I'll do like a 5-minute thought. This is what I'm talking about today, right? Now, that'll be a podcast. I could post that as content. But then I'm going to transcribe that. I will change the wording a little bit, maybe add a few things and some links, and eventually it becomes an article. The article can push people to the podcast and vice versa. All of a sudden I might find I have a soundbite that sounds nice. Oh, that's a cool quote I said. Aren't I great, right? So let's use one of those apps now and create one of those nice images with a filter in the background with my quote. And that quote can now go on Instagram, for example, and push towards the article or the podcast. So I'm reusing the one piece that I recorded and I'm using that a few times to get more content out, and it's talking to different people in different ways, but getting that one message across. So it's not like I have to come up with some crazy amounts of content all the time. I do come up with a lot of content, but I can reuse things, and not by way of just posting the same podcast to 5 different platforms. I'm talking about actually rebuilding and repurposing the one piece of content several different ways, right? And maybe I'll do a Facebook Live on the podcast I did last week. Last week I talked about XYZ. This is what I mean by that, and here's another example. Oh, you have 2 questions, and that's another piece of content with the one idea. So it's some really cool ways to utilize, one thought, one idea, and repurpose that several times and get similar messaging across different ways, which speaks differently to other people. Instagram's different than Facebook. It's different than a podcast. That kind of idea. Yeah,
that's really helpful. Thank you. So it all sounds very busy. What do you do when you're not working? How do you relax? How do you make sure that it doesn't tip you over the edge?
Yeah, I love, like I said, love hanging out with the family. We will play, with the little ones. We'll watch some cartoons together or play some video games. I have a hot tub in the back, which is nice for relaxation. I'm a big fan of just watching documentaries and just doing that. Hanging out with friends and family, at our house or their house, and just having dinners, things like that. I think that's a great way to unwind, and that's my thing. I love being with those people, and I'm a big fan of learning. So even though this is still business to me, when you're an entrepreneur, every day is a Friday and every day is a work day at the same time, right? So I like audiobooks and reading and learning new things, like I mentioned earlier, watching webinars as well. And to me, that's fun. It's not work. I don't have to have my notebook out taking notes as if I'm in school. It's just learning cool new things, what other people say, listening to podcasts like this, what other people say. Maybe I can, get entertained, obviously, but get one golden nugget out of it, which is cool. And that's another way I like to wind down. And that's almost a wind down, but bridge between wind down and not doing anything, but also learning at the same time, which is kind of cool.
Yes, yeah. Something I do quite a lot of as well. In fact, after tea last night, Simon, Ellie, and I were watching TED videos, which some people might think is a bit sad.
Yeah, I love those.
They were good.
Yeah, we do that all the time. I mean, those are great, and it's cool. It's cool to have the little ones kind of learn those things as well on their own, because they get a little bit of the extra education. But these are thought leaders, like you're mentioning, TED, thought leaders around the world, and there's always something cool and entertaining to listen to, but also learning at the same time.
Yeah. One of the ones we were listening to was I think it's the top watched video of 2016, and it's a guy who replied to a spam email, and then he's a comedian. It's funny, isn't it? So, so that was quite entertaining. So, okay, so let's sort of keep on that theme of sort of learning and reading and books and so on. What would you recommend for inspiration or for just learning and inspiration, I guess? Books, films, or music? Well, music, we could be here for hours, I guess, but go on, throw a few out.
Yeah, let's do. I mean, like I said, I love books. I'm a big audiobook guy because then I can listen to things if I'm driving to a meeting or at night. So I'm definitely a big audiobook guy as opposed to just reading. I can get through books faster as well, which is kind of fun. You know what? There's so many. I mean, I'm looking at my iPhone right now in my audiobooks area. You know what's a great one? Growth Hacker Marketing was awesome by Ryan Holiday.
Oh,
and it's not that long. It's called Growth Hacker Marketing by Ryan Holiday. It's very quick, but it tells a lot of stories on how new companies like, you know, when Gmail or Hotmail or Dropbox came out and how they used, you know, different tools to have people share and have people help their friends sign up for these accounts, for example, as opposed to the traditional ways of marketing. He talks about how marketing changed quite a bit in the last few years, and there's, you know, a very big difference between the traditional vice president of marketing and marketing department that creates one creative and goes to radio or print, and it's that for 6 months, and then they decide on the stats at the end. Now it's very fluid and very open, and that's, especially for us as entrepreneurs or small business owners, that was a cool book. And again, it's very, very small. I think as the audiobook, it's only like an hour and a half. So that's a good one. Growth Hacker Marketing I loved. And, you know, I mean, there's so many. I mean, I like the 4-hour work week was great.
Yeah.
Not that I only work 4 hours, but it was a very cool concept on, you know, outsourcing things that you may not need to be doing and inexpensively. Testing your market to see if there is a market for something. That was a cool thing. You know, that kind of, or you know, you have a new perceived wealth that you don't need to be the millionaire to live a great lifestyle and go on vacations. You just need to understand what those expenses might be. How do you fill that gap and be able to live properly and not just work yourself to death to retire at 65 and then try and enjoy it if you can still walk.
Yeah.
Try and enjoy your life all the way through and figure out you know, how you can live within that means, but also do really well, take lots of vacations, and you know, you seem like you are the millionaire, but you don't have to actually be one. That was a very cool concept in there too.
Yeah, I think the whole journey piece, wherever that comes up, is so important, isn't it? Enjoying the journey, not just focusing on the end result, because you know you're putting it off, and also when you get there, it might not be what you expected anyway. So if you haven't enjoyed the route, it's a waste, you know, a big waste of time, isn't it?
And I think that's where a lot of the you know our age and whatnot can look at millennials, and you always see articles and people who are, oh, those entitled millennials, they don't want to do the work, they don't want to do this and that. They've seen, you know, the baby boomers, which is you know, like my parents and whatnot, go through that. Well, they worked to the bone, right, and had their one great vacation a year, and then they had this great retirement, but now they're older. And they're complaining about health or, you know, only be able to do this and that. And I can see the millennials look at that and say, I'm not doing that. Why would you work 50 years, blah, 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 just so you can enjoy it maybe at the end? Yeah. Or the stock market crashes a few times, and now you're still complaining about not having enough money. You have enough, but you're not loaded like you said you were going to be because they took your money away. So I can see them saying that, hey, if I don't like this job, I'm out. And so everybody else looks at them as, oh, you're entitled, and, oh, look at you. But they're going through a different era, and I even feel that same way. Yeah. Of, I'm going to enjoy this journey because I'm not, you know, if I don't like what I'm doing now, we're going to pivot, tweak, or I'm out because this is not going to be, you know, everybody's now living for the now as well, which is, I think, a cool concept. But when you're separating all the age demographics, you can easily see how a different age demographic can look down and say, well, that's very entitled of you. Yeah. You need to work for your family, whether you like it or not. You know, you go to school, get a job, and then work until you're 60, 65. Then you retire and enjoy your life because that's what they were told and that's what they did. And that's great for them. But I can see other age demographics saying, I don't like that. That sucks. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
They can say, I'm not going to do it. And there's that friction between the two.
So those are a few books. Any films or music that you'd recommend?
You know what? Film and music, since I'm in that industry, it's so hard to recommend because, you know, everybody's very different, and I can see that now. You know, I could see so many tiny slivers of audiences, just even in music. You talk about rock music, it has like 900 different styles of rock music, right? Or electronic music. So, you know, it's one of those. what do you like, right? It's kind of that sort of bad answer, right?
Yeah.
It's for films, again, I'm a big documentary guy, so depending on how you lean towards what style of documentary you might like, you can go all over the map between the food we eat to the style of living to American politics. There's all kinds out there, so I guess it's tough for me to actually recommend music or films. So I don't know if I'm going to. I'm going to make everybody comment and tell me what you guys like.
I'll let you off that one.
Here's my cop-out answer there.
So we talked a bit about what you do in your spare time to relax. What about keeping healthy? You just talked about I can't think what the technical term is, where your food comes from. There's a technical term, but I'll just use those simple words.
It's early for me, so now I can't come up with it either. But it's true, eating healthy is fine. I mean, there's all these documentaries and articles on the types of food or the pesticides they put on it, or whether they're genetically modified and whether that's bad or good. At least just to be aware of the possible, dangers and risks that could be involved. I mean, it goes both ways on whether that's true or not. I seem to eat, my wife and kids are vegetarian, so I seem to be grateful that I fall into eating a lot more healthy than usual. But I mean, I think that the main key, even beyond organics or not, is, are people having the soda all the time? Are they having the McDonald's all the time? That's obviously a treat, but not healthy. Those are things I haven't had, soda or a McDonald's or fast food in years. It's just it just doesn't sit well anyways, and obviously it makes me a lot healthier by not doing it. And it's just a lifestyle choice that people just need to just get into. I'm sure a Big Mac would taste awesome, but there's a lot of other things that I'm a big pizza fan, so I'll have my pizza every once in a while. That kind of idea. But as for actual exercise, I don't spend enough time exercising. I should do more, but my kids are little, so we're out rollerblading and skating and doing some hockey, and I take them swimming all the time. So I'm active that way, as opposed to going to the treadmill or lifting weights. I just, again, if I have like that focus and ADD problem, I can't sit still on a treadmill, right? Even though I'm not sitting still. It's just like boring to me. Even if I have an audio book or listening to something, it's very boring to me. So I need to be doing something. I could play hockey for 3 hours, but running on a treadmill for 10 minutes is just like torture to me. Yeah. So I'd rather have a hockey league that I can play. Right?
I agree. And as you say, it's that whole thing about just moving, and having young children can really help with that for sure. So you don't need to
yeah, exactly. And anybody else that obviously you don't have children, or maybe they're older or whatever it is, I would say keeping active is important, especially us as entrepreneurs. We sit at our computer a lot. Even if I'm at my smartphone half the day instead of the computer, I'm still not doing a whole lot. I might be sitting there or just walking around a little bit. It's just important to get into something. So if it's joining something recreational, that's great too, just to keep a little active and get the blood flowing.
Yeah, of course. I'm at my stand-up desk as we speak.
That's cool.
Instead, basking in the in the glow of being healthy.
That's great. I've seen those and they look awesome. I might have to invest in one.
Yeah, this one's a particularly good one. It's Ergotron is the make, and it's sat on the desk, but it's sort of mechanical. So I can either sit at the desk, or I can just, using little clips, raise it and stand up. And then when I've had enough and my knees start hurting, I can sit down again.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, but I do tend to stand up for podcasts and the like, because I think it just sort of helps with the energy. But yeah, I like that.
When I do phone call podcasts, or I'm on a phone meeting, so then I'm not attached to my nice microphone that's plugged into the Mac, and I have to it's got this little robot arm with the that little whatever that circle piece is. If I'm on the phone though and I have my earpiece, I love walking around the office. Like, I'm just doing circles. Yeah. And you're right. It adds to that energy. And even right now, I'm moving my hands. You know what I mean? Like, it just adds to that, which is really cool. But right.
Lovely. So we're moving towards the end of the interview now. What about if things don't go right? How does that work? What do you do? How do you cope when things are going wrong?
Yeah, no, that happens all the time. I think as entrepreneurs, the answer is things are always going right. What are you talking about? And it's always going wrong at the same time. It's kind of funny. But as an entrepreneur, in my opinion, you can create solutions out of thin air. You create money out of thin air. Eventually, when you do it long enough, even the failures are not catastrophic. Even if they are, they're still not, because you always know, well, I can create something out of nothing and we'll just move on somehow. I just have to learn from this and figure out what happened. So I'm the type of guy that, and I've done this throughout my whole career in life. If the doors aren't open, I will build a door beside it and break that open instead. So, when something's not going right, I'm hitting a roadblock, or, a client's terrible, I know I can create new business out of nothing. I can create new ads. I'm very creative that way, and I think most of us as entrepreneurs or home business owners know that. And if you don't, then you guys are. You can create stuff. You're the ones who create the jobs. You're the ones who create money out of thin air. You really do. We're all like that. So once you get that in as a mindset, things that happen all the time, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Even if it puts you back, and you got to just imagine. So what if you all of a sudden didn't have a client for a few months and you got to get into credit card debt, which is obviously nobody wants to get into, but at the end of that, you're going to be able to climb out and get out of that. It's just that all these businesses, bigger ones, carry levels of debt if they need to, because there's a downtime. And, if you are an entrepreneur, you will figure that out and move on. It's not detrimental to you. Obviously you don't want to go too far in the hole, and then you need to go get a job, which is fine too. But then again, that's an answer. You might go get a job for a little bit, climb out of the debt, and then create your, moonlight at the same time, right? But again, there's another solution there, right, that you can come up with. So nothing, unless you're dead, nothing could really knock you down. I mean, I've, knock on wood, even accidents and things like that, people can still thrive and strive to be great if you have your mindset. So that's something that everybody needs to always remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last question then. On a day when you end the day knowing that you've had the chance to live more, and that's where I talk about getting to do the stuff that you really want to do, not the stuff that you feel you should do or you have to do, what have you done? What does that day look like?
I think, myself and even my wife and kids, we love traveling. So I love to book clients and meetings around North America, as an example. And even this year, we're going to go to Europe. We're going to go to Italy this year. And so, to me, if I know that travel is in my day, and of course that's not every day, I think to me that's such a great bonus.
Yeah.
And even if I can couple that with doing business, that's even better, because not only a portion of it could be a write-off for business, but I'm still not on quote unquote vacation, and to me that's okay. I love, so we're in the next week or so, it's kind of cold here in Toronto, and we're like, we're going to go to Las Vegas for all of March because I have a lot of business conferences, and that's going to be a little bit warmer, which is great, but it's sort of cold now in January. Why don't we just go to Florida next week? Oh, okay. Right. We homeschool our kids. My wife was a teacher, so we're homeschooling them now because we do travel a lot, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're very small, so that's okay. They're grade 1, so they're very small still. But we can just do that. Not everybody has that freedom, but for me to make that decision, or to be able to now wake up next weekend and be like, I can do my podcast from the beach now, right? That's great. That to me is really fulfilling, and even then it's even part of work sometimes, because I can still do work and not miss out. But be able to do that is really cool. Not say, well, I better schedule my week off because then I won't be away from the desk and everything's going to collapse. And just to create that life design, that's what we wanted to have. It took a little while to get to this point where, sure, let's go to Florida. It doesn't cost us a whole lot. We just drive down, no big deal. And we could bring our laptops and still do work there, which is kind of cool. You know what I mean? We could still not be disconnected, but still have a great vacation and multiple vacations. So I don't feel as bad where maybe the morning I have a podcast and a couple emails, and then the rest of the day I can go play at the beach. Well, you worked on vacation. Yeah, but I get an extra vacation, so it's all good, right? So it's kind of a great trade-off. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's interesting. People talk a lot about work-life balance, and I hate that phrase. I always say that it's not supposed to be balanced. I like to use work-life integration because of that, absolutely, that flexibility. So like you, whenever I'm away with the family on holiday, I'm always working, not all the time, and not to the detriment of enjoying time with the family, but so that I feel connected, so that I don't know, on holiday I tend to do more of the stuff like organising myself and things that that means I don't necessarily connect with customers, but I am doing stuff that's really beneficial for the business, but I'm doing it on my own terms, in my own time, to fit in with everything that's going on. And I think that's one of the real opportunities for people who work for themselves and can build that flexibility in, but not everyone does it. A lot of people who work for themselves still have a sort of 9 to 5, as you say, I'm working or I've got to book in vacation type attitude, and I just think that's such a missed opportunity.
It is. I think people need to, and it could just be because you're at the beginning stages and you need to hustle and you can't take vacation time, whether it's there's not enough money to do that, or you're at the beginning, you need to hustle 24/7, and that's cool too. But you don't have to do that for 20 years. You could do that hustle and start to create that different balance. And it sounds like the people who, let's say on social media, point the finger, Louie, why are you responding? You're supposed to be on vacation. Those are the ones that don't get that like, I love that work-life integration. Maybe they do have the 9-to-5 corporate job, so they think when I'm on vacation, my phone is off. Yeah. Well, that's cool because you get 1 week vacation. I get, I don't even know how many trips I'm taking this year, with the family, a million of them. You know what I mean? I'm constantly doing stuff, and it's great. We get to bring the kids to Chicago and New York and Philadelphia, and they get to learn. So you go to Philadelphia and they learn about Benjamin Franklin. That's awesome learning. But I can have a meeting in the evening with a potential client or with the client, and that's my work, and I answer a couple of social media things during the day. But for the most day, we're walking around Philadelphia looking at the Liberty Bell. Yeah. Right? So when I make that one post and somebody may say, you're supposed to be on vacation. Man, I take vacations all the time. So I don't think they understand it because they're not living that world at all. They think, man, when I'm off, I want to be off. And they deserve to be off because they work like crazy in the 9-to-5 job, right? Yeah. We're a different breed, completely different breed. Like I said, it's always a Friday and it's always a work day at the same time.
Absolutely. Lovely. So tell us more about how people can find out about you, how they can connect with you, presumably on a whole host of social media platforms.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm all over social media. And, of course, my website. Yeah, all my accounts, including the website, is my first and last name, Louie Lavella. And it's spelled, and I'm sure you'll have the link too, but LouieLavella. So LouieLavella.com is obviously the website, and I put my podcasts and links to podcasts like this, these great podcasts as well. And you can read a lot of my blog articles and whatnot and get some cool ideas. And, a lot of it is that music marketing and nightlife marketing, but really, anybody can use this type of marketing and social media kind of concepts. I use it on several different genres, so it's great to go after. And then, of course, all over social media, the username is Louie Lavella, and that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And feel free to reach out to anybody out there. Ask some questions or give me some comments. It's great to connect with people. I love it. Excellent. Even while I'm on vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
Go for it.
And there can't be many Louie Lavellas in the world. It must be a fairly unique name, is it?
I think that's probably, I'm the only one, I think so. You might find my personal profile in my Facebook page on Facebook. That would be probably the only time you find two.
Yeah.
And feel free to add either.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Louie. It's been great talking to you today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me on.
All this information is available in the show notes on the website powertolivemore.com/ in this case 39. The website is a place to go if you want to find out how I can help you to improve your productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience, your power to live more, which is to do more of what you want to do. If you have a specific need to improve your productivity, organisational well-being, you can talk to me about how I can help you. If you use powertolivemore.com/power chat, you can book in for a free call with me. Again, the link for this show is powertolivemore.com/39, and we look forward to speaking to you next time.
Power to Live More with Joe Dodds.